Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to PaxMedica's channel, creating a promising path forward in autism. Joining us, Stefan, the Chief Medical Officer, who's going to give us and provide some insight today in the path forward for PaxMedica, which is going to be very intriguing nonetheless, because we've been chatting a little bit off the live here. But first and foremost, welcome, sir.
Glad to be here.
And a pleasure to get you on. So first and foremost, I've got to ask you, how are you helping propel PaxMedica through this idea of proprietary review vouchers? It's kind of related to the sleeping sickness side of it, with what's going on in Africa. And all of this is kind of going to propel the company into the side of autism. I know this is a lot, so I wouldn't mind if you could step back, simplify this, and kind of break it down for us.
Okay, so first, my role is I am the Chief Medical Officer, so I'm the strategic medical thinker. By the time I joined the company, there was already an excellent team working in Africa. They were from South Africa, but they were also working in Uganda, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia, and other countries. And they really have done a great job. I was impressed by what they'd done. These trials are already underway. With these trials, I'm basically giving overall information in development, just checking it for medical things, medical strategy, overseeing it. So I'm helping here. I am not the driver for that. I hope to be the driver for the autism program. But in a nutshell, what we're doing is this. There are two versions of trypanosomiasis brucei. That's called sleeping sickness. There's the Gambiense version and the Rhodesiense version. The Rhodesiense version is only about 3%. The Gambiense is the one that's bad enough for people, but it almost never kills anyone. But they can suffer for many years, sometimes even a lifetime. Rhodesiense is practically always fatal. It's about 3%. It shows up in Uganda, Malawi, rarely in other places like Zimbabwe and Zambia. It's not common, but there are outbreaks, and those people tend to die. They go from stage 1, which is before the drug, the protozoan enters the nervous system, to stage 2. When it hits the so-called CNS stage, or stage 2, those patients are basically condemned to death. There are a few drugs that can stop this. One of the drugs that does this is the Suramin. It's a drug that was discovered in 1916 in Germany. Around 1920, they discovered that it works against sleeping sickness. So there are many drugs for the Gambiense form. There are not a lot of drugs for the Rhodesiense form. And in the WHO standard of care listings, this is the drug, the drug of choice to be given to people who have the Rhodesiense protozoan, but are in stage 1, to prevent it from going into stage 2. If you're in stage 2, even then Suramin is not enough. You have to try other things, and it's desperate means, and even then they don't always help. So what happens is that sometimes people contact the disease and come to the US. A few years ago, there was a case of a person who was here and had the bad form, and they took weeks to finally get the material to save this person's life. So in the interests of motivating companies, big or small, to develop drugs for diseases with small indications, the FDA has come up with a really clever plan. I think it's a great plan. So it doesn't cost anybody anything. It doesn't cost the government anything, and it helps fund. And this is what happens. If you develop a drug for a rare disease where you could practically never get your money back by developing it, the FDA will look at the designs of the trials and actually will make some considerations for this to make it more feasible. But they will give you, if you get approval for it, a so-called priority review voucher. This means that anyone who has this voucher can bring it to the FDA, and their approval process will be accelerated. Now, it will not improve your chances if your data is trash. You don't get approval, but you will get a decision more quickly. So if you submit a good amount of data, if you submit an approvable submission, then you can save months. Now, in big pharma, this can be millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars saved if you just save 6 months in the submission time. So these priority review vouchers can be sold. So our plan is to do this. We hope to get the drug approved in the US for sleeping sickness, rhodesiensiform, get the priority review voucher, sell that, and use that money to develop our future goal, and that is for autism. In autism, we have two trials, one in the small first trial in 5 people with autism and another one in about 52 patients, in which there are some really fascinating results. Now, these are not definitive yet because the studies are too small and these weren't approval trials, and approval trials are expensive, but they're the first time that anybody's ever shown anything in autism that really looks interesting. So you have to remember that the placebo effect in autism is actually pretty low. These people don't seem to respond well to any of the treatments we have, which is one of the reasons it's still such a desperately needed drug. So we want to take this, we want to get the money from the priority review voucher, and then develop the drug for autism, which I, as a neurologist, I have worked with patients in autism the years ago when I was still working clinically, worked in ADHD. I still remember the desperation of those people. I remember that this can make lives so hard. And if we could help, I think that would be great.
I definitely appreciate these insights, and I just want to pick your brain a little farther. Speaking of the neurologist side, no pun intended there. But do you can you offer just a little bit of insight into your history and just some of your background and what you're kind of bringing forward with PaxMedica?
Sure. So the big thing with PaxMedica is obviously I'm just incredibly good looking, so that helps the company quite a lot. But the real thing is I had 33 and a half years of experience in drug development, and that's from phase 1, 2, 3, and approval, and phase 4 studies. I've helped several drugs make approval. I can proudly say that there are many cases in which what I did, me personally, not just having led fantastic teams, led to approval. So I'm pretty proud of that. Tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people's lives are better because of what I and my team and my companies did. So basically, I have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry from Florida International University. I have a medical degree from the Ludwig Maximilians University in Munich. I have a PhD or a doctorate from the Technical University in Munich. I did residency in Milwaukee and then got board certification in Germany. And then right after I finished residency, I went right into industry because that's what I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to work internationally. I wanted to work in all of the disciplines. I wanted to work with the legal people, the preclinical, the chemists, the formulations, the statisticians, the clinicians, and everything. And I got that, and I have enjoyed it to the hilt for 33 and a half years. It's one of the greatest jobs you can do.
Well, congratulations, and I definitely appreciate these insights. And I always love how mission-driven a lot of the biomedical industry is. So I'll pass the question off to the viewers. We'd love to know what you think in that comment section below. Consider subscribing because as news continues to come down the wire, we're going to update you here. But on the note, as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.